Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Defense Ecosystem Podcast, where we explore the global security landscape and examine Finnish companies who bring solutions to global security problems. My name is Valtteri Vuorisalo, and I'm the Professor of Practice for National Security and Security Policy at Tampere University. Today, we will be talking about military communications and data transfer needs on the modern battlefield. Tero, welcome to the show.
Valtteri, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Tero, Modirum is a relatively new player in the defense industry. What is it that Modirum actually does?
Well, firstly, Modirum is 27 or actually 28 years old company already now.
Right.
So we are not a startup in terms of the age and maturity. But indeed, in the defense sector, we have only operated a while. We started in the banking sector or finance and banking sector, providing trust platforms, very much AI-driven trust platforms for authentication. And the main focus was in 3D authentication for credit card payments. Today, if you look at Modirum, you basically see two different companies that are highly connected and related to this industry. Modirum Platforms, first of all, is an AI-led company, primary focus in situational awareness, so you can say C2 related platforms, and then also service assurance capabilities where radio access systems and radio access networks are in the core.
Right.
The second sister company is Modirum CESPI, which is a full spectrum defense company. As an example, we manufacture artillery ammunition, aerial bombs, we do 70mm rockets, we do armored boats. We are one of the largest manufacturers for armored boats in Latin America. We have a large capability in radio systems also in this company. And these two sister companies, all in all, they employ roughly 1,000 people. So this is the magnitude of the enterprise.
Right. So definitely not a startup.
Not a startup anymore. There's lots of know-how in supply chains, in AI, in IT. And obviously now the segment-specific knowledge is what drives us forward.
Right. And great synergies too with these two companies.
It's a different business logic, obviously. So in Modirum CESPI, the big part of the know-how is on supply chains, really managing carefully the raw materials that are highly sensitive, as you can imagine. Storing and warehousing hundreds of tons of TNT is a different thing than developing AI solutions.
Definitely. But speaking of AI solutions and coming into the defense industry, one thing that we see with defense architectures is that they're very heterogeneous. There's a lot of old and new and different data types and all of that. How easy is it to implement AI platforms into an environment like this?
Well, first of all, we are a high believer on solid interoperability.
Right.
So we rely on open architecture, open APIs for many different reasons. Number one, there's so much fast-paced innovation, which is maybe on a user interface level. You need to be able to deploy them in different type of engines, and that plug and play thinking has to be part of your architecture. You need to rely on industry standards. So we are a heavy supporter on those standards that really can make a difference in the industry. Having a perspective also to European sovereignty. And then AI all in all. I mean, you know what it is today to develop a new platform or new capability. It can take days, or it can take weeks. So modular architecture actually enables those fast-paced innovations to any architecture that you may have.
Yeah. Well, when we look at communication, if we step back and look at the modern battlefield, the bandwidth of communication capability is very, let's say it's segregated. It varies a lot. How do you plan for such environments from a communications perspective, from an AI utilization perspective?
Big question. So when we started to focus on the defense, we considered that telecommunication know-how and understanding on radio access systems is very important, because indeed you always have these constraints and limitations. So we started to develop in-house capabilities where network assurance and service assurance is part of the offering. So you need to be able to see where different type of capabilities can be actually provided. So if there's no access to the network, then it gives you certain limitations for number of functionalities, obviously. Then a second part is that we wanted to be innovation heavy and R&D heavy in certain areas. As an example, when it comes to video transmission or image transmission in constrained environments, we wanted to be best in breed.
Right.
And we have tried to patent technologies that always enables that uncompromised connection with that latest frame, as an example, to the command and control centers. So you truly need to understand these challenges geographically where they are, and constantly basically tailor then services based on what access you have.
Right. One of your platforms, Modirum, is a multi-model situational awareness platform. What does that do, and what solutions does that provide in the market?
Well, in our language, M-Orbit is actually an overarching AI capability connecting all of our systems.
Okay.
So it's a set of functionalities where we try to take the best out of data, whatever quality data we may have on hand. So if I give you two examples on command and control and situational awareness, that's where the sensor fusion takes place. So you have more and more different type of cameras on the battlefield, whether they are in the drones or whether they are body cams or whatnot. You need to be able to fuse that information and sensor information effectively for the better decision making. Then the second part goes back to the service assurance and understanding how the network actually functions. So we want to understand different type of threats or anomalies in the network and so on to provide always latest understanding of the infrastructure. What is the status and what is the quality of that infrastructure, and what threats you may have with that. So M-Orbit actually plays the role in managing all of that data and then automating different workflows.
Right. Tero, artificial intelligence and the acronym AI is everywhere. It's the buzzword of the day. It seems though that real capabilities are lagging. How would you comment on that?
I would echo that it's most probably a bit overhyped at the moment. So
Right.
starting with that. And then when we look at the AI and different type of use cases behind the AI, we put the whole context in three different baskets. One can imagine the strategical level in terms of the decision making. One basket would be then the operational level, and one basket would be tactical level. And in all of these baskets, the timelines are different for decision making. The volume of the data is different. I would say also compatibility for the AI is different in all of these different baskets. And one has to really understand the use cases for all of these three when you start to develop different capabilities and functionalities. And our job is to also understand then the limitations for all of these, because you can imagine that on tactical level, the cloud is maybe not available, and the data consumption has to be done with your mobile phone.
Yeah.
That's basically the end result, and edge computing is closer to you than in the other scenarios. But that's maybe one way to look at it.
Yeah. And speaking of the tactical edge and comparing it to command level decision making, what one central use case is the acceleration of data and information interpretation. Do you see any concern with speed versus trust?
Speed versus trust. It's always a compromise, and I suppose in the end it is a question where you have that final human touch and human interaction, that who presses the button and who actually calls the decision. I assume that AI on the battlefield does actually follow similar type of industry best practices as anywhere else. That AI is good with the data fusion, in data crunching, in creating synthesis on the information and providing different scenarios and alternatives. But when it comes to then final decision making, then the human touch is actually there that actually dictates the good decision from the bad decision, and accountability has to always follow.
Right. So that are obviously everybody wants AI in their organization, but I think there's a lot of prerequisites that you need to have in order to be able to implement AI. What do you think are the most important ones?
Well, the limiting factors actually depend a bit. I would go back to the picture where you have these strategical, operational, and tactical layers. If you deploy AI in a use case where the main problem is swarming for the drones or automated targeting or object recognition, you are basically trying to solve, using AI, you are basically trying to solve a technical issue. And utilizing AI there may be then is more dependent on technology frameworks and robustness of the system and connectivity and stuff like that. But the closer you get to the actual decision making, that you are doing that sensor fusion and data fusion, and the intelligence of a human factor gets connected with the machine, then it's a different game. Then the organization, first of all, has to be ready to use these type of modern platforms and know the limitations of themselves and basically practice that role play between the machine and proactive, predictive, preventive systems versus your own thinking. So it really depends what layer are you talking about and where the decision making takes place.
Yeah, I really like that last point that you made, that it really emphasizes the role of the human in the loop and the need to train people also to use AI efficiently. Is that
It's a
correct?
statistical fact in any given industry that most powerful combination is when the AI is combined effectively with the human factor. Standalone AI versus standalone human is only halfway, but if you can combine those and really practice and rehearse and create those workflows towards a better efficiency, that's where you get the benefits.
Right. Well, if artificial intelligence is a buzzword of the day, one thing that we see in defense in industry is a word combination called deployable artificial intelligence, and we earlier spoke about how bandwidth might not necessarily be there, and access to technology might not be the best on the tactical edge. What does deployable AI actually mean?
Well, we earlier spoke a little bit about the different type of constraints. The constraint can be in the network or access to the network and bandwidth to the network. Deployable AI means, in practical terms, that it provides you concrete support regardless of the environment. So it needs to be robust for different type of hybrid events. These are always compromised environments. Just lately, we have seen also in the Middle East when the events started to trigger certain type of cloud infrastructure deployments, and adversaries actually did attack these cloud environments and destroyed functionalities and capabilities that were there yesterday. So deployable AI for me means that we have thought through where the computing takes place, where the intelligence takes place, whether it's in the edge or whether it's actually in somewhere on the background.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of a quote which goes something like this: that you have to know your enemy, but you have to know your enemy like you know yourself. So you really need to be aware of your own capabilities in this regard.
Indeed, and with that, you would be always one step ahead.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. You know the quote. So fair to say, artificial intelligence is needed. It is something that you need to have a clear view on how to implement it. In your view, how are European nations tackling this challenge? Are we moving rapidly enough, or are we still being cautious? What's the status from your chair?
I would perhaps start with all of the platform companies and all these deep technology capabilities. Europe has been wonderful innovator. But I have seen your previous podcast, and this is not the first time we are touching the topic. So we have less money, i.e., we have less resources. We have equal volume of talent. That I would argue that in Europe you find that talent. And then comes the legacy environment, that what type of legal frameworks you can deploy to take best out of AI in on a European continent. Nevertheless, we haven't been competitive, and there are not really strong AI-led defense companies all in all available. And this is, of course, something that we are trying to change in our ecosystem, in our microcosm. But if I would have all that power now in Europe, I would actually put more emphasis on sovereign technologies, trying to understand where the sovereign actually sits well, because it's not black and white question. You have lots of gray areas.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, that it's probably the wrong solution to try to be fully dependent. It's probably the wrong solution to try to be fully sovereign and disconnected. So we need to find some shade of gray in that solution, I think.
Indeed. You work in the trusted networks, and you just have to know basically the risk that you are taking, utilizing, as an example, non-European technologies and so on. But it doesn't mean that you would be fully independent with the different solutions. It's not realistic.
Exactly.
The volume of the innovation is so high on the other continents, and so is the volume of innovation. So we need to be very smart.
Speaking of buzzwords, we need to touch on multi-domain operations as well, which is a great vision where data and information is shared from one defense organization to another, and even including civilian organizations. How do you see implementing this theory into practice? It seems like a big task.
Still, I need to be a believer.
Yeah.
And I think the vision is fairly clear. And interesting enough, this is very much why Modirum Platforms does exist. So our mission statement is to protect intelligent infrastructure across the society. And so we have a big intent to be one of the solutions, or try to solve that complexity. Inside the defense, information is, of course, siloed, even though you have wonderful platforms in air, land, cyber, space. The information is siloed, and the complexity will increase if you then extend it beyond to the other public safety and on the civil side. I think one of the tools, once again, is related to the common data models and interoperability, and certain frameworks through which you can build capabilities that benefit the civil authorities as well as the defense. It's absolutely not an easy solution, and it's not something that we can fix over the weekend. But from our society perspective, we need to do something for it, because it's a small country, a small nation. We all have to be part of the protection.
Absolutely, and I think Finland is in a great position due to our low hierarchy of leadership and tradition of collaboration between governmental agencies. So I think we're very well set on that path.
Indeed. People know each other. Organizations are coordinating activities smoothly, or at least with the less frigid than in many of the other places. So I think this is a best place to start piloting, testing, and validating.
Yeah. Is that sort of, how would you say, if I commented that sort of trust and that sort of tradition is a minimum requirement for multi-domain operations to succeed?
Well, I mean, Finland, this is inside us. In many different fields, we have a high trust on our authorities. Even the civil side, us as citizens want to be part of the process somehow, and we have a good foundational platform for this multi-domain operational efficiency all in all, and maybe many countries should come here and see and learn.
Yeah. Speaking of other countries, is there a big gap between countries and their initial capabilities for MDO, multi-domain operations, or How uniform is, let's say, the alliance in moving towards that vision?
Um, if we want to stay in Europe, massive difference. I
Right.
mean, big differences between the countries. I think all in all, in the Nordics, we are fairly advanced with our thinking on everything that we spoke on interoperability and partnership and collaboration between different authorities. Also, there's less hesitation in using modern best practice um, infrastructure capabilities and technologies across. Um, Taking Germany as an example, taking many of the other countries as an example, they are still, I mean, they are now in a learning phase and learning curve, starting to invest in that knowledge and know-how. So it's good to be a Finn from this perspective.
Also from this perspective.
Yeah.
So, Tero, when we look at the vision of multi-domain operations, it's about sensor fusion and colossal amounts of data, and many public servants say that they're drowning in data. But do we actually have enough and sufficient amounts of data for all layers of the multi-domain operations vision?
So first, in a Finnish context, if you look at the whole society, I think our country is in a unique place because we have been digitalizing lots of the public services, and there's a lots of good quality data available for uh, uh, to develop AI capabilities and to develop preventive and predictive methodologies to keep our society safe. We are in the middle of hybrid warfare, so it's not anymore a gray zone, but we are actually beyond that gray zone and point zero already now.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I think we have enough data to understand. When it comes to the defense, our perspective perhaps is that there's a lots of data, but there are still gaps where we see opportunities to improve that situational awareness and overview. And we do think that there are alternative ways to complete that picture. And so data volume is high indeed, but we still have some areas gaps and problems.
Right. That Finland has a lot of good qualities, like we discussed, and is this a model that other small countries could then emulate to be sufficient players in the multi-domain operations vision?
If you may, I would actually take a European perspective, what Europe should do,
Certainly, yeah.
and then we can go back to Finland all in all. So in this European framework and the European context, I would definitely invest more in interoperability and the certain sovereign areas where we need to be strong ourselves and when we need to lean on European deep technology alternatives. What Europe doesn't do well yet is tied a very well orchestrated co-development with the end user and technology vendors. This is something that we should be able to mimic and partially copy paste as an example from US. There are wonderful best practice companies that have that collaboration and co-development mentality from the beginning.
Right.
So it's not only about the money and it's not only about the best resources, but it's that tight connection that gives that small company and small country an ability to innovate fast and not actually do mistakes on their roadmaps and thinking. So that proximity is something where Europe is not the best.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, it's something that we should learn very quickly, I would argue.
Yes, now the window is now. Everybody has learned so much from Ukraine, how that best quality innovation actually takes place on the battlefield. And Finland has a lot of talent. We have proof points that we can develop scalable systems that are robust in these constrained environments and so on. We just need to know exactly that use case and then test fast and pilot fast and move forward.
Yeah, I love that. Then we could be a model country for different types of implementations in addition to innovations.
Yes, and the good news is that Finland is taken seriously everywhere. So we are strong with the defense and we are absolutely strong with the technology. So wherever we travel, wherever we go, wherever we present ourselves, those two different parameters, so axes, actually strengthen each other. So people take us seriously when we speak and lecture.
The battlefield has changed quite a bit. There's drones, there are different types of analytics and AI as we've been discussing. What do you think is the single most important change that we now need to understand about the battlefield?
If you allow, I'll actually say two bullet points on this topic.
Sure.
So number one, decision-making timelines are getting shorter because of that data fusion and different capacities, capabilities. Now that the information is available, it is also going to be analyzed faster, and rhythm and tempo for that factor is completely different than it was before. Then something which is connected front and rear, the distinction between them will actually disappear.
Yeah.
Because now the proximity and data, human factors, everything is so much closer. So I would say that the gray zone between this rear and front is of course still there, but you cannot anymore see the difference.
Yeah. And that is a big mind shift for us. I think the experiences in Ukraine have been a very painful lesson for all of us, I think.
Yes, this is probably a question that you need to address now to the actual professionals and see how they think about it. To my understanding, Finland once again is well positioned in this change because Finnish soldier and our army throughout we've been educated, taught for independent decision making. So I assume that this is good for us.
Yeah. But so many things are changing. There's new technologies, there's new doctrines, there's new operational realities. And in consequence, there's a lot of buzzwords and experts, and everybody has an opinion on what is important. But what is, in your view, then, is the most important thing in 5 years? What will win the battle in the next 5 years? And what is the wrong thing that what we're focusing on? How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, this could be the one-liner. The country and the organization who has the best information available on the decision making will win.
Right.
So it's all about the data. It's all about the data quality, and it's all about synthesizing that information.
Yeah. I love the fact that you said it's all about the data. That used to be my mantra. It's all about the data. Absolutely. And from that perspective, old realities still apply. Whoever has the best information and the quickest decision-making cycle wins. So that is the historical fact, and that would then apply still.
Indeed, it applies all across
Yeah.
in defense and in business as well.
Absolutely. But it's also very heavily influenced on networks and software, as we mentioned. Does that new reality, and I refer to the fact that we're dependent on software, we're dependent on networks, does that have a new impact on how we should understand military capability and relative capability to others?
I think so. I mean, to my understanding, previous thinking has been leaning very much on big platforms. And platforms, I mean, as an example, our big investments in firefighters and F-35s, and these are platforms.
Yeah.
And now, with this change, it's not only about these type of capabilities. It's plus on top of these capabilities. So, in addition to that old world, we need to understand that information is power, and whoever manages that the best will have asymmetric or asymmetric benefit towards the other. So this is a big paradigm shift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in terms of enabling architectures and capabilities, your focus would be on information analysis and the speedy analysis of it. Is that fair to say?
It's, I mean, we are there to make sure that the network access is always secured. So making sure that the radio access capabilities actually function well, and whoever builds platforms on top of these radio systems then knows what constraints and limitations you may have. And the second layer is indeed that command and control, situational awareness, all automated or as much automated as possible.
Tero, this unfortunately concludes our time together. It's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you so much.
And thank you also to our audience. This has been a digital defense ecosystem podcast where we explore the global security landscape and examine Finnish companies who bring solutions to global security problems. See you next time.